What's up, Spotlight Nation? Get ready, because we're diving headfirst into the biggest stories making waves right now. First up, we've got Glen Powell revealing who he credits for changing the game for leading men in Hollywood. You won't believe who it is. And speaking of big screens, get ready for a deep dive into Edgar Wright's upcoming adaptation of Stephen King's The Running Man. We've got all the details on Glen Powell's intense preparation and what to expect from this dystopian thriller. But that's not all. We're also breaking down how Chris Pratt's iconic role in Guardians of the Galaxy paved the way for actors like Glen Powell to embrace their more silly and buoyant sides, moving away from the traditional brooding hero archetype. This shift is reshaping the entire industry. And to cap it all off, we're revisiting Glen Powell's journey, from his early roles to becoming a bona fide star, and how mentors like Tom Cruise are guiding him. Stick around for all the exclusive insights. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Tom's Spotlight, and hit that notification bell so you're always in the loop. Glen Powell credits Chris Pratt for allowing men in Hollywood to be silly instead of brooding. Glen Powell is giving a surprising shout-out to Chris Pratt, crediting the Guardians of the Galaxy star for a significant shift in Hollywood's portrayal of leading men. Powell believes Pratt's breakout role in the 2014 Marvel blockbuster opened the door for actors to be more silly and buoyant, rather than exclusively playing brooding or dark characters. Powell explained in a GQ cover story that he feels most at home playing characters with a lighter, more comedic touch. He noted that while actors like Christian Bale and Robert Pattinson have a certain gravitas, Pratt's performance as Star-Lord demonstrated that there was a valuable space in Hollywood for a different kind of leading man. This paved the way for Powell, who often felt typecast in roles like the jock or the fraternity guy, to find roles that better suited his natural comedic timing and versatility. He sees this silly and buoyant style as a necessary flavor that not all actors can bring to the screen. This revelation comes as Powell himself is stepping into major leading roles, including his upcoming turn as Ben Richards in Edgar Wright's adaptation of Stephen King's The Running Man. The film, set to release on November 17, sees Powell in a physically demanding role, for which he sought advice from his Top Gun, Maverick co-star Tom Cruise. The impact of Pratt's paradigm shift is clearly felt by current stars like Powell, who are now benefiting from a more diverse range of acceptable leading man archetypes. Fans are buzzing about this insider perspective, with many agreeing that Chris Pratt's role indeed changed the landscape. The success of actors like Powell, who excel in more lighthearted or action comedy roles, is seen as direct evidence of this industry evolution. Don't go anywhere, because the way Glen Powell prepared for his new blockbuster role is absolutely wild. Next up, we're diving deep into the dystopian world of The Running Man. Glen Powell says Chris Pratt helped open the door for goofy leading men. Glen Powell is giving a major shout-out to Chris Pratt, crediting the Guardians of the Galaxy star for fundamentally changing the landscape for leading men in Hollywood. Powell revealed in a recent GQ interview that Pratt's iconic portrayal of Star-Lord in the 2014 Marvel hit was instrumental in shifting the industry away from solely accepting brooding or dark protagonists. Powell explained that prior to Pratt's breakout, Hollywood tended to favor actors with a more intense, serious presence, citing Christian Bale and Robert Pattinson as examples. He felt that his own strengths, which leaned towards silly and buoyant characters, were harder to showcase. However, Chris Pratt's success with a more lighthearted and comedic superhero demonstrated that there was a significant audience and market for these types of leading men. This opened up opportunities for Powell, allowing him to embrace roles that felt more authentic to his acting style and paving the way for his current success in films like Top Gun, Maverick, Hitman, Anyone But You, and Twisters. This shift in perception is particularly relevant as Powell prepares to star as Ben Richards in Edgar Wright's upcoming adaptation of Stephen King's The Running Man, due in theaters on November 17. The film's synopsis describes Ben Richards as a working-class man forced into a deadly televised competition. Powell's preparation for this physically demanding role involved intense training, drawing inspiration from his mentor Tom Cruise. The success of Pratt's character not only opened doors for Powell, but also highlighted a broader appeal for charismatic, relatable heroes. Online discussions are highlighting how Pratt's Star-Lord became a cultural touchstone, proving that a leading man could be both heroic and hilariously flawed. Many fans are pointing out how this paved the way for a new generation of stars like Powell to thrive. But how exactly did Glen Powell get ready to be a weapon for his latest role? Coming up next, we're exploring the intense training and advice he received for the running man. Glen Powell credits Chris Pratt for shifting the Hollywood leading man image. Not everyone has to be brooding. Glen Powell is attributing his rise as a leading man in Hollywood, in part, to Chris Pratt's groundbreaking role in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Powell shared in a recent GQ cover story that Pratt's performance as Star-Lord in the 2014 film was pivotal in breaking the mold of the exclusively brooding, male protagonist. Powell elaborated that before Pratt's success, the industry heavily favored actors who embodied a certain gravitas, like Christian Bale or Robert Pattinson. He found it challenging to fit into this narrow definition, as his own natural inclination and strengths lie in portraying characters that are silly and buoyant. Pratt's ability to blend humor, heart, and heroism in Guardians of the Galaxy proved that a leading man could be relatable and funny, thereby creating more space for actors like Powell to showcase their unique talents. This shift has been crucial for Powell, enabling him to land major roles in recent hits such as Anyone But You and Twisters. Powell's career is reaching new heights with his upcoming starring role as Ben Richards in Edgar Wright's adaptation of Stephen King's The Running Man, set for release on November 17. Preparing for the physically demanding nature of the character, Powell sought guidance from his Top Gun, Maverick co-star, Tom Cruise. He described transforming himself into a weapon and a high-performance athlete for the role, emphasizing the impact of Cruise's advice on navigating such intense physical preparation. The film also boasts a star-studded cast including Josh Brolin, Colman Domingo, and Katie O'Brien, promising a fresh take on the dystopian classic. Movie enthusiasts and critics are widely discussing this evolution in leading man archetypes, with many acknowledging Pratt's influence. The current demand for actors who can bring both charisma and a touch of humor to their roles is seen as a direct result of the path forged by Pratt and now being fully embraced by stars like Powell. From seeking advice from Tom Cruise to preparing for a dystopian nightmare, Powell's journey is incredible. Stay tuned as we reveal the full story behind his role in The Running Man. Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy changed the game for Hollywood leading men, Twisters star Glen Powell says. Glen Powell, star of the upcoming film Twisters, is giving significant credit to Chris Pratt's portrayal of Star-Lord in the 2014 Marvel blockbuster Guardians of the Galaxy for revolutionizing the archetype of the Hollywood leading man. Powell stated in a GQ profile that Pratt's performance was instrumental in moving the industry away from a reliance on brooding or dark characters. Powell recalled that when Chris Pratt emerged with his more lighthearted and energetic take on a superhero, it opened up new possibilities for actors who didn't fit the traditional mold. He contrasted this with actors like Christian Bale and Robert Pattinson, who often embody characters with intense gravitas. Powell feels that his own natural acting style, which he describes as silly and buoyant, aligns perfectly with the space that Pratt helped create. This validation has been crucial for Powell's career, allowing him to transition into major roles and become one of Hollywood's most sought-after actors. Powell is next set to star as the lead in Edgar Wright's highly anticipated adaptation of Stephen King's novel, The Running Man, which is slated for release on November 17. To prepare for the physically demanding role of Ben Richards, Powell drew upon the wisdom of his mentor, Tom Cruise, whom he consulted for advice on surviving the intense physical training required. The film promises to be a major event, with Powell taking on a challenging part that benefits from the broader acceptance of diverse leading man personas established by actors like Pratt. Fans and industry observers are actively debating this shift, with many pointing to Powell's current success as proof of Pratt's lasting impact. The ability for leading men to be both action heroes and comedic forces is now widely celebrated. But what's next for Chris Pratt and his iconic role? We'll tell you if Star-Lord is returning to the Avengers roster. All right, Spotlight Nation, let's do a lightning recap. Glen Powell is giving massive props to Chris Pratt for paving the way for silly leading men in Hollywood. We dove deep into Powell's intense preparation for Edgar Wright's upcoming adaptation of Stephen King's The Running Man, and how he even got advice from Tom Cruise. Plus, we explored how Pratt's Guardians of the Galaxy role truly shifted the industry's perception of heroes. Did you love this breakdown? Then smash that like button, subscribe to Tom's Spotlight for all your entertainment news, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a beat. And hey, let us know in the comments which story you found most exciting. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms for even more exclusive content. We'll see you in the next one.